For the track one is Abhinav Shukla from General Mills, and he's going to talk about cloud migration approach and strategy from QA lens. Let's welcome Abhinav Shukla. Over to you, Abhinav.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Kumar, for all this opportunity. And before I like to start, I like to thank the QAI and Pradeep and all the team for creating this wonderful platform where we can all come together and share the best practices and the learnings from the different organization and learn from each other. So thank you very much for that. So good morning, everyone. Today I'm going to talk about the cloud migration strategy from QA lens, right? So the everybody able to see my screen, right?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for the confirmation. So agenda which I'm going to cover is out. I'm going to talk about the objective or the problem statement, approach and processes which we have considered, solution which we have derived, value which we have generated from the strategy, and then we'll open for any question and answer. So the objective and problem statement. So in the last fiscal, our organization had decided to move our on-prem data center to the cloud. As most of you are aware that every organization is going to the digital transformation. So our organization also decided that we need to go to the cloud because of the pandemic and all the situation which we have faced. It's very good to move on the cloud to support various applications, right? But what exactly this mean to us? This mean to us that we need to define a cloud migration strategy for more 100 for more than 700 plus custom and third party applications. So the challenge which we have faced at the start, first thing, the volume of the application is really high. We have 700 plus application to support. And other thing is that we have different categories of the application. Some application belongs to the sales organization, some application belongs to the HR organizations, some application all belongs to the our corporate organizations. So we have different categories of the applications, and they are belongs to the different organizations, or you can say the different category. The next challenge was the timeline. We have very strict timeline that we have to move the on our data centers completely from on-prem to the cloud in 9 months. Next thing is the test coverage. So the General Mills is very old organization. Just to give you more prospect, that we have around 160-year-old organization. So we have a many application which is like defined and developed in many years and decades ago, when we don't have the proper QA practices and all the services. So we are not even sure that what kind of test coverage or what kind of depth is required to test all those 750 applications. So next thing is the priority identification, right? So as we have the huge long gamut of the applications, we are not sure that what is the business priority or business criticality for the applications, because as we have a different categories, right? So we have one category which is talk about the from the HR, which is another category which is sales, with another category which is supply chain, demand chain. So each application category have their business priority and their business criticality, right? But we need to define the business criticality as per the complete organizations. So that was the one more challenge which we have faced. Another challenge was resourcing, right? To support all the 700 application, we need adequate resourcing, and to hire a resource within the 9 months of period, new resource hiring, training them to the new applications, and all those were also very huge and Herculean task. Then because we have the huge gamut of the tools, our organization had decided to take a different kind of different kind of migration strategy, right? So few of the application going to take a different route for the migration, another application going to take the different route of the migration. So because of the kind of difference in the migration strategy, there was also a challenge to define the what kind of a test process we are going to apply for them. And the last is the very limited resource available on the net, right? When we started, so there are many the resources available. We talk about the infrastructure side of the cloud migration, we talk about the security side of the cloud migration, but there are very few material available. We talk about the functional aspect and what is the overall QA strategy, what will be the approach we'll take to support large gamut of the applications, right? So that was the problem statement. So approach which we have taken is, first thing, we have defined that we need to assess. We need to assess, then we have to plan, and then ultimately we need to execute. So what we have done in the assessment is that we need to develop a solution who can help us to identify the business criticality, A. B, we need to identify the impact of cloud migration strategy on those applications. And C, what is the cloud readiness of those applications. So first we need to develop a system who can help us to do this assessment. Next is the planning, where we need to plan that, okay, how we are going to support, what will the engagement model which we are going to take to support all 750 applications, right? Because onboarding, as I said, onboarding the complete new team, QA team, which is not at all a good idea considering the impact on budget and as well as the timeline. And at the end is that we need to define the test scope and coverage, so that we can provide the right depth of testing to all the applications, right, based on their business criticality and all aspects. So next thing, sorry, so next, I don't know why my slide is got stuck here. Are you guys able to see my screen? Hello?
Yes, Abhinav, go ahead.
Okay, sorry. So first thing which we have done for the assessment is that we have defined the risk migration strategy. What exactly this risk migration strategy means is that we have a different kind of migration strategy from the cloud migration strategy, right? We have rehost, replatform, refactor, replace, and retire, right? So what exactly this particular strategy means to the QA, right? And what how this particular strategy is going to impact the QA. So we have created this migration strategy risk map, where we said that if we are talking about the rehosting, right? Where what is the exactly mean of rehosting is that we are only lifting and shifting the application from on-prem to cloud, right? We are not touching the code, we are not touching the server side, we are not touching the platform, we are only lifting and shifting, right? So we are only changing the environment here, right? So the impact of the or the risk on, because now we are not touching the code or platform, is comparatively low. So that is, then we have assigned the risk score as a 2. Second strategy, it might be re-platform, that we are currently in on-prem, we are might be using the SQL Server 2012, and we want to, when we are going on a cloud, we want to upgrade it, right? So when we are, so that is a re-platform kind of thing. So when we are touching the server side of this, or we are trying to use any other load balancer and those kind of things, right? So then the risk score is pretty high compared to the rehosting, but still, because we are not touching the architecture or code, it's like between the rehost and refactor. What is the refactor? When we are touching the code, when we are redefining the architecture, in some cases we are rewritten the application, right? Because might be some application are rewritten in the C sharp, and we want to write those application in .NET Core, so that we can use the, after the migration on the cloud, we can utilize the cloud native capabilities, right? So in this case, it's kind of rewrite the new application, right? So the risk score is high, which is 5. So 1 is the least risk score, and 5 is the highest maximum risk score. So we are giving the refactoring as a maximum risk score, because this is as a new development, right? So then next is the replacement, right? When you're saying replacement, there are two kind of replacement which we can done. One is the custom app, which like we are developing a new application in house to replace the existing application. And another option is the third party tool, which might be any SaaS solution or existing app tools available in the market, which we need to onboard. So when we are talking about custom, it's kind of new development, the risk score is high. When you are talking about the third party tool, so the risk score is little like less than the custom app, because the application is already developed and tested by the parent organization. We only need to consider the customization and the configuration part of it, right? And last is the retire. So we might need to plan that, okay, these kind of application we are not going to use going ahead, and we need to retire. So what is exactly it's mean to the QA team, right? We need to ensure that whatever data the application is going to retire, what kind of data is having, or how they are is connecting with the upstream and downstream system after the application is got retired. That is no impact on the business processes or the business outcome, as well as any information is not getting lost. So that's the reason the risk score is pretty low. So that is the meaning, the risk management strategy, and what is the mean this to the QA, and what is the risk score. That was the first step. Second step, what we have done is how to identify the business criticality of the application, right? How we'll come to know which application is how critical from the overall organization point of view, not the specific, you can say, the area, right? So what we have done is we have created a survey which is consists about more than 30 to 40 questionnaires, and we have shared all this questionnaire with the all 700 application owners. And this questionnaire is comprises of all these areas which is highlighted on the screen, which is kind of user base, frequency of frequency of use, business impact, technology stack, geographical locations, right? Because also we want to understand, is there any latencies, performance point of view. So those things we are trying to understand from the business priority. We have taken those, we have shared those like survey with the all the application owners and taken the feedback from them. And then we have created a mechanism so that we can derive the business criticality score out of it, right? And I will talk more detail in the next slides. So then now we got the overall business priority for all the applications. So now we are coming to the step three. Is very important is the to know the cloud readiness of the application. So what exactly we mean by cloud readiness, right? So it's very important that the whatever application we are planning to migrate from on-prem to cloud, those applications are ready, yeah, or stable enough to go on cloud, right? They are stable enough from the test execution point of view. They are stable enough from the any list of open issues point of view. They are stable enough from the users point of view, right? Because it might happen that we have created some application, and in the last 6 months nobody is using those applications, so we are not even sure that what is the impact, or what is the current state of those applications, right? So it's very important that we go and check that, okay, what is the last time when they have tested the application, what is the last time when they have even like upgraded or updated the application, released the application. Is there any open defects currently they are having, critical open defect which might going to impact on the cloud. And why all this is why all these things is important to check the cloud readiness? Because when we are on prem and on same environment, right? When we are changing anything, there are no additional cost involved other than the resource cost and the technology cost, right? But when we are going on the cloud, and if for the analysis purpose or troubleshooting purpose, if we have to download a large chunk of data from cloud to the like on prem or those sort of things, that there's cost involved, right? When you are like extracting the information out of the cloud, right? Putting the cloud is not a very costly thing, but taking information out on the cloud is always a cost involved. So it's very important that we ensure and we just check that whatever application we are going to deploy from on-prem to the cloud, they are ready enough or they are stable enough to be on the cloud. So that was the cloud readiness check which we have done. So there are three things we have checked. We have checked the impact of the migration strategy. We have checked the business criticality, and we checked the cloud readiness. Then we have created the risk rating framework, right? What this the overall risk rating framework? That first thing is whatever questionnaire which we have shared, which provide us the business priorities, and also give us the information on the cloud readiness, right? We have fed this to the our business criticality scoreboard. So we have given the weightage to the each and every question, 30 and 40 question whatever we have created, and this is just a sample of those questions. So we have given a weightage to those questions, right? Few of the question might have a more weightage, other question might have a like a small weightage, and based on those things we have derived a business criticality score, right? For each and every applications. So now we got the business criticality, right? But it is also important to check the complexity, right? Because when we are going to the cloud, what kind of like migration strategy we are using. If we are using a rehost, might be the strategy or the risk score is pretty low. If you are talking about the refactoring, the risk score might be high, right? So we need to think about business criticality, as well as we need to think about the complexity of the approach which we are going to take. So then what we have done is we have taken both the score individually, and then we have blended with the weightage, and we have defined a final risk rating for the application. This particular thing is giving the risk rating to the applications, which is talk about or which is one pillar is talking about the complexity, and another pillar is talking about the business criticality and business need. So now we got the baselining set up. When we are aware that this is the risk rating for all the applications, and we have the overall assessment completed, and that is the, you can say, the final risk rating is the final outcome of the assessment process, right? So next is the planning. So the next task, the Herculean task, is how we are going to approach, how the QA team is going to take this all the how to QA team is going to support all the 700 applications, right? So then we thought that it might not be beneficial to give same level of focus to all the application, right? So what we have done is we have categorized the application in three levels: risk score 1 and 2, risk score 3, and risk score 4 and 5, right? So what we have done is we have played a role of QA governance more in risk score 1, 2, and 3, and we have taken the complete ownership of the application, mostly falling in the risk score 4 and 5, right? So when I say what exactly we mean by the QA governance, right? So rather than adding a new resources to the project, and and avoiding the cost and timing of the training those resources, and then like onboard those resources, what we have done is we have decided that we'll take a help of the technical and business owners, right? But we also need to make sure that we are delivering the same level of quality across all the risk score applications, right? Either they are falling in the 1 or 2, or they are falling in the 4 or 5. So how we can ensure it? So what we have done is we have created a, for risk score 1, 2, and 3, we have created a overall best practices. We have created the templates for them. We have, and then we are going to meet with all the application owners, conduct a kickoff meeting where we are going to help them understand what those templates is all about, what are the best practices, what kind of things they need to consider when they are like going to define the scenario, right? What they need to think about databases, they need to think about the all the upstream and downstream system. So we need to educate them. This is not the normal functional testing of the application, right? This is the focus is more toward the migration of the migration from on-prem to the cloud. So they need to derive their scenario more focused towards those scenarios. So we have conducted those meetings, we have educated them, we have shared the best practices with them, planning templates, and then after that we have set up a query call where if we have any like queries, then we have go and resolve those queries. One additional thing which we have done in the risk score 3 is once they have derived their all the test scenario, we have gone through and review it and provide like from the completeness point of view, have they tested and have they thought about all the prospect which we have shared the in the best practices, right? Have they thought about the database part, have they thought about the API part, have they thought about the interconnections between the multiple system integration testing part? So we have checking all those parameters and then providing them the feedback, and then based on that they are like updating their test scenario. But it's still the execution ownership is lies with the technical and business owners. So for risk score 1, 2, and 3, right? But still we are validating the kind of defect they are logging, how they are logging, what kind of information we are providing. So we are doing the complete governance so that the quality of the testing ultimately will be the same as if any other QA team or the QA person is going to test. The approach we have taken for the 4 and 5 is that we need to conduct a technical and business owners meeting, and we need to go into partner with them, right? So we need to understand the best practices, we need to understand the what is the business criticality, what is the business critical scenario, we need to understand the application, and then we need to onboard the QA team on that, who can help them to identify the write them the test cases, identify write them the uh, all the scenario which might be required. We might need a test data, so the QA team will help them to generate those test data, and then we'll take the complete ownership of this particular you can say the segment where we are testing all the applications, and we are involved in everything. So basically we are like focus mostly which is matter to the most to the organization, right? So then we have defined the this kind of approach for our engagement, and this is a very very innovative approach which we have taken with the because the time crunch we cannot onboard the resources. That the reason this is a very innovative approach where we have utilized our current strength and help them to identify to do the testing. And this is not only help them for this particular phase, even eventually going forward, this is educated them from the best practices of the QA, and the business owners and technical owners as more aware and concerned about the quality of the applications. And these are the scope definition, how we have defined it, the quality 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Like 1 is the least critical, no business impact; 2 is the no critical, minimum business impact; 3 is the somehow critical, low business impact; 4 is a critical, and extreme; 5 is a extremely critical, right? Then at the end we are coming to the execute part, that how we have 700 application, right? How we are going to define the test coverage and test scope for all the application, right? It's very very difficult task to do. So then what we have done is we have first created the test scoping. How we are going to do the test scoping, that we have created a different kind of test approaches which we normally do: unit testing, data testing, functional testing, regression. And then we have mapped this with the migration strategy, that rehost, replatform, refactor, replace, and retire. So when we are rehosting, we are not touching the code, so we don't need to do the unit testing, we don't need to do the functional testing, right? But because we are migrating from on-prem or cloud, and it might possible that the application which is getting migrated, they have many upstream and downstream or dependent system or the dependent databases which might be migrated on the cloud at that point of time, might not be migrated on that point of time, and that might going to migrate in the next pipeline, right? So it's very very important that the if you are migrating it from the database point of view, or everything is working fine, right? And then we are just regressing it just to make sure there are many like access controls is also involved, right? When we are changing from on-prem to the cloud, so though from we are just regressing and integrate in doing the integration test to make sure those things are intact. So then we have defined this approach where we are saying that these are the testing types and these are the migration strategy. We are going to take this kind of approach. So for this way, we have defined the complete, you can say, the scope and the for the migration strategy. So next thing is the depth. This is the is just talk about what kind of testing techniques or testing services which we are going to apply. But in what depth which we are going to test? Are we going to test with the same depth when if the for the risk rating 1 and 2 and the 4 and 5? No, right? Because some of the application is more critical, they require more attention, and other application is less critical and they might require less attention. So what we have done is we have based on the risk rating, we have defined this, and this is just a sample. We have a very huge strategy on this, and just I'm showing here a sample to give you a little idea on it. So we have when we are say that we have the risk rating 1 and 2, we'll mostly focus on high level functional and sanity test. We will not go and talk about the performance and automation, right? Because the performance and automation is the performance is the key parameter of defining the business criticality. So when if the application criticality is 1 and 2, it's mean that application criticality is not that high, or the performance SLA is not that high for all these applications. In application 3, what we have said that we go and do the business criticality scenario, we go do the database related validation usability, and we also use the non-automated performance test. So what exactly we mean by non-automated performance test is we are having the app dynamics kind of application, right, who is monitoring all the application most of the time. So what we have done is we have defined some some parameters, like the kind of response time and all that, so for in the app dynamics, and we have taken the dump of all the application and we have set those parameters as a benchmark. So we have not created the complete script from the like performance testing tool, like the load runner or the neo load, but we what we have done is we have used the data from the app dynamics, and then we have set the benchmarking, and after the migration we are mapping that if the performance is decreasing or increasing, right? But we have not considered test automation because looking at the timeline as well as the kind of application volume which we have, right? So it's not very beneficial to think about automation at this particular point of time. In N4 and 5, what we have done, we go more deep, more detail, where we are testing the business criticality flow, we are testing end-to-end functional validation, cross-platform, upstream, downstream applications, tidal jobs, APIs, all the backend system, right? And also we have like worked with the business owner to define the actual the automated performance test, where we are using all this performance testing tool to define the different parameters like the CPU utilization, and the response time, and all other parameters of the performance testing. But still what we have done is we have not considered the automation, but we have had a discussion and defining the pipeline for the future the projects, right? Because of the timeline and kind of application we have, we said that might be this phase of the project we are not going to automate the regression pack, but eventually we can define based on the business rating, based on the frequency of releases, based on the frequency of change, that these are the potential scope or the automation pipeline which we can take further and then define the overall scope from the automation in future, and that can work as a different project, and then it's for us. So that is the overall about the execution phase. So what value we have generated out of it, right? So first thing is the cloud migration strategy for the organization with a large application portfolio. So as I said, when we started our journey, we are not getting any kind of reference material or strategy which talks about how we are going to handle the large application portfolio. If we have the application more than 500 and 700 application, what kind of strategy we are going to take, how we are going to segregate, how what kind of strategy we are going to follow. So I think this is the holistic end-to-end strategy which any organization can adopt if they have large application portfolio, right? We have taken a dual role here. We have taken the quality owners as well as we have taken the QA governance role, right? But still we have make sure that standardized test process and coverage followed across the application. So even the QA team is involved or the QA resources are involved or not involved, we are getting same output, same quality output for most of the applications, right? Then because we have a very strict timelines, and so this is the migration strategy which talk about and focus about the minimum resource addition to the table, work work in the strict timeline, and also nice budget utilizations, right? And the other another big thing which we have done by this approach is that we have created the complete assessment and for the all the application portfolio, right? So now they know everything about what is the release cycle, what is the dependencies, what is the applications. So they have the complete portfolio on repository of all the application portfolio, which is very useful for any future planning, right? If they are planning to modernize the application, they are planning to use any kind of cloud native capabilities. So these kind of the repository which we have created, it's very useful for them to take the big business decisions, right? As I said, we have also identified the automation opportunity for all these application, and which can be a huge you can cost saving if you are going ahead with the automation route. And the last thing is the creation of migration bundles, right? Because we have the 700 plus applications, so it might not be possible to migrate all the application at once, right? So we have to bundle applications together, and then in the span of 9 months we might have many like releases where we are going to migrate some one bundle from on-prem to the cloud. So this risk rating helped the team to define the mixed bag, right? That we are not all the application, it should not belong to the risk score 4 and 5, or should not belong just 1 and 2, right? So we should have a mixed bag where we have the some application is 1 and 2, some application is from 3, and some other application are 4 and 5, so that we can minimize the risk impact of it. So that is the value which I think we have generated out of this strategy. And that's, I think that's all from my side, and I'm open for any question and answer.
Okay, thank you, Abhinav, for the wonderful session. It's a very in depth, session overall,
Thank
and
you.
so there is a question here. So how different is a strategy from any normal migration? Which part is specific to migration to
Yeah.
cloud specific technical aspect?
Yeah, so as I said, so normally when we are talking about the migration, so all the risk rating and the first parameter which talk about the business criticality, which is common for all the migrations, right? But
Mhm.
one other leg which we have added here is we are also identified the impact of cloud migration strategy, right? Are we planning to rehost, are we planning to re-platform, and what is the impact of those things to the ultimately on the migration strategy, right? So that is the extra leg which we have added to the flavor, and we are blended both the things to define the approach. I think that is the very beneficial. Otherwise what is happening is, if we are deciding to the rehost and are we deciding the re-platform, we are following the same kind of strategy for all the applications, which is not providing the justifications, right? So that's the answer of it.
Okay.